Hey, how's it going, YouTube? How y'all doing today? Almost tripped over a rock. Almost tripped over a rock. How's it going, YouTube? How y'all doing today? Got my coffee in hand today. Supposed to start raining here pretty soon. Taking a look at my animals. As you can see, my cattle are still here. So the man did come by yesterday. He did take a look at these animals. He well, we got to talking, and I honestly decided to just keep my animals. Well, okay, so he did say a few things that made sense to me, but he did say a few things to me that did not make sense. A few things that he said to me that made sense was that this bloat is a big problem. I was noticing this bloat, and then but okay, so here's what I began to notice. About 90% of my animals are either have bloat by the end of the day, or they're having diarrhea. And so I'm going to go to the it's too early right now. The feed store is still closed, but I'm gonna go up to the feed store and I'm gonna get some mineral oil. I'm gonna put some mineral oil on some grain. I'm gonna feed it to them. Then I'm gonna go get some bloat guard blocks, and I'm gonna put them on bloat guard. But these cattle, they're on a fresh spring pasture. Okay, so here's one thing that I realized about cattle is that cattle, they do not they actually do need they need access to roughage. And so the idea of roughage is just filler food. And so I was so concerned about getting these cattle on a high quality grass that I actually overdid it. This grass is too nutritious for them. It's causing them to have diarrhea. It's causing them to spurt, and it's causing them to bloat. And so I'm gonna go get some bloat guard, and I'm gonna go get some mineral oil, and I'm gonna get that in them here in about an hour. These cattle, though, they well, the man was asking me, the man was trying to convince me that these cattle are worth like 65-70 cents a pound, and that to me, that didn't make sense. Yep, that didn't make sense at all. And he told me a few things that didn't make sense. He told me that bloat is permanent. He told me that once an animal gets bloated, the only way for me to unbloat them is to stick a trocar in them. And that doesn't make sense to me, because like even right now my animals are less bloated than they were last night. So I mean, I'm sure that this bloat is something that I can like he's real bloated. Well, he ain't even real bloated. He's slightly bloated. He's less bloated than he was 12 hours ago. And so he was telling me that bloat is permanent, and that once the animals get bloated, that I need to trocar them. That I didn't agree with. We were talking for like 2 hours yesterday, and then he told me that if an animal is 500 pounds at 9 months old, that the animal's having severe health problems. And I didn't agree with that either, because, well, okay, so here's the thing, right? Is that if an animal is 500 pounds at 9 months old, you know, scaled out to the long term, that means in 2 years these animals would weigh about 1,200 pounds, 1,250 pounds, which is harvest weight. So right at that 2-year mark, they would be ready to harvest. And also, it's like, you know, these cattle, they're like people. Okay, so if I had a like, let's say me, right, 6 foot tall, 220 pounds, 215 pounds. If I went into a buffet, and and then let's say I went into a buffet and there was a 15-year-old kid in there too. If I went into a buffet and it was a competition between me and a 15-year-old on who could gain more weight at a buffet, I would destroy that 15-year-old. I would gain weight so much faster. And so the idea for me on these cattle was that as these cattle, you know, if I could keep them at 45 pounds a month until they were about a year old, until they were about 700 pounds, and then at 700 pounds I could start feeding them silage, to get them to gain weight faster. I could actually get them to processing weight to about 1,200-1,300 pounds in less than 20 months on straight grass fed. And I understand that okay, so to take this kid analogy to a 15-year-old kid against me at a buffet, like if a 15-year-old kid, if they were going to well, the average 15-year-old kid, I would put on weight much faster. And so the idea is that, like, let's say the 15-year-old kid, somebody was there and they were going to maximize how much weight he could put on. And they started feeding him just cake and just candy bars and just real high calorie food. I would still gain weight faster if I got to pick and choose what I ate. Let's say like I ate something with like some vegetables in it. I ate something with some whatever. Like, it didn't have to just be super calorie dense food. I would still gain weight faster just because I would be able to consume such a large volume of food. As a full-sized human being, I would be able to consume so much more food than a smaller human being. That's just well, I mean, that's just the way it is, right? But it's the same thing for these cattle. If I have them at 45 pounds a month and I get them for a year and I keep them steadily growing at 45 pounds a month until they're a year old, until they're about 700 pounds, 600 pounds, because if they were born at 85 pounds, let's say, and I get them for a year and they get to about 700 pounds, and then I start feeding them silage. Silage is harvested at a later period, and so at the plant development stage. So silage, the protein value is lower, but the amount of biomass produced is higher than a fresh vegetation grass. So if I were going to cut silage, I would cut silage probably at about 90% bloom. So if like I was going to cut silage on Sudan grass, I would wait until about 90% of the plant material, 75 to 90% of the plant material was showing signs of blooming. And then I would harvest it. At that stage, there would be a lot more biomass per acre than something like this right now, where it's just fresh vegetation spring grass, where it's early growth spring grass. And so I would be able to feed these cattle a larger volume of food, a significantly larger volume of food. And even if I kept them on track, because the guy was telling me that if my animals are 500 pounds and 9 months old, that I'm having severe problems with my cattle, and I don't believe that. Just because if I look at the long term of what I'm looking to do and what I'm looking to do with these animals, it makes sense. If I get them to 700 pounds, 650, 700 pounds at 1 year old, and then for the next 8 months or so, I feed them silage and I increase their weight gain per month, and I increase their daily weight gain, they're going to gain more weight because these animals will be larger. They'll be able to consume a larger volume of food. Even if the food isn't as calorie dense or isn't as nutritious as eating something like this, they will still they will be able to eat a significantly larger volume of food than they can right now. And so yep. And then well, they tried to convince me to selling my animals for like 65-70 cents a pound. And he told me that I'm gonna have a whole bunch of animals die the moment it gets warm, and that the bloat that I got going on right now is permanent. And I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe the bloat is permanent, and I don't believe my animals are gonna die the moment the weather gets warm. And so, yep, my animals are still here, and I'm just gonna keep them steady. I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. My cattle look fantastic. My cattle are doing phenomenally well. I'm right on track for what I'm looking to do. These are straight grass-fed cattle. So grass-fed, I mean, I give them a little bit of grain, but the amount of grain that I give them, it's like me eating like half of a cookie every day. That's literally what the amount of grain comes out to be in relation to everything. Just because, okay, so if I give these animals 1 pound of grain a day each, just to move them around on the field, that's like that 1 pound of grain, it ain't hardly anything. So these cattle are like 95% grass-fed. And so they are going to grow slower. Like if I had just fed them straight grain, if I had just fed them straight corn or something like that, yes, they probably would grow faster. But at the long haul, right, at the end of the day, does it really matter that that I harvest these animals at 20 months instead of 24 months? You know, like, does it really matter? And some people actually pay more for grass-fed beef than they do for grain-fed beef. So straight grain-fed beef that may grow faster, and the animal may gain weight faster. But some people actually pay more for grass-fed beef. I would be happy if I had grass-fed beef in my freezer. Like if that was what I had. Like there's Princess right there. She's my processor calf. She's grass-fed, and I'd be happier with grass-fed personally, with grass-fed than grain-fed. And so, yeah, these animals are going to gain slower on grass than they would on grain. But I mean, for what I'm looking to do, these animals are doing just fine. These animals are gaining about 45 50 pounds a month, about 1.5 pounds a day. When they get to a larger size, I'll be dropping the quality of their food, the feed value of their food, and giving them a higher volume of food by harvesting plant material at a later stage of development and siling it. So these animals, I mean, but okay, here is one thing that I did figure out. When putting these cattle on fresh pasture, it's good to deworm them before, because I had this whole situation going on with dewormer. Where I was like, you know, should I deworm these animals, or am I gonna send them to a new farm and they're gonna get dewormed again? Yeah, but whatever. These animals need to get to deworm them before they go on a fresh grass field. Also need to put them on some bloat guard or some kind of a bloat preventative before they get on a grass like this. And so, a good way to prevent them bloating on a grass field like this is to have some lower quality feed. Cattle actually need roughage. They need roughage at times. If they start spurting real bad, if they start bloating real bad, got to get some of that. Got to get something with lower digestibility and high fiber in it to get that bloating under control. And so it would be good for me to have some silage here year round, just as a preventative for bloat. So if I start seeing my animals bloating real bad and I need to get them off of the fresh grass, I can just give them the silage, and I can harvest the silage at a later stage of development. And so, yep, those are a few things. From now on, one, I need to have some silage here year round. Two, I need to harvest the silage at a later stage of development. Three, need to have some bloat preventative. Like I'm going to go buy some mineral oil and some grain, so I'm going to put the mineral oil on the grain and I'm going to feed it to them. And then I'm going to put some bloat guard blocks out for these animals to lick on. But yeah, I mean, the bloat, I mean, the guy was telling me the bloat is permanent, and the bloat is not permanent. I mean, I'm already seeing way better bloat conditions on these animals. But I've been seeing that every morning. Like I've been realizing that if the animals go they start bloating at night, by the time the morning comes around, usually about 75 to 90% of it has gone away. I am seeing, I got this one black bull right back there, him right there. He eats a lot. Like he eats, he's one of those animals that if I left him in front of food, he would eat until he dies. But I've been noticing that he's been bloating pretty bad. And so he's the only one here that's like, man, I may need to go and do something about this. But I'm gonna put some bloat guard out here, and I'm gonna get some. If I can find some good cheaper hay, I ain't looking to pay $150 for a bale of hay that's barely any good. You know, when it's practically just roughage. But if I can find some low quality, well-priced cow hay, I'll bring that in too, to just increase the amount of filler food that these cattle have, so that they get some roughage in them. Because this spring grass, they got a lot of diarrhea, a lot of bloat. These animals are just Yep, I mean the grass is too nutritious. And so I actually didn't fertilize this field yesterday. I was going to fertilize this field yesterday, but I didn't do it because if I fertilize this field again, it's going to increase the nutrition value of this grass. And I've already got a bloat problem. So, yep, I didn't. And the cattle are bomb squatting. They're spurting. They're got a lot of liquid poop out here. And so it ain't too liquid. It ain't like it's coming out of them like a missile. But it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, man, 90% of these cattle are either having diarrhea or they're bloating. And so I'm gonna go and see what I can find at the feed store. I'm gonna go get that mineral oil. I'm gonna go get that bloat guard. I'm gonna see if I can find some well-priced cow hay, and then I'm going to get these animals situated. But I'm doing good here. When these animals get to about 600 pounds, 650 pounds. The idea is at that point I'll have some silage, and I'll harvest that silage at 90% bloom, so the feed quality of it is lower, and so I can keep these animals I can increase the volume of food that these animals eat, the amount of roughage that these animals eat, while decreasing the nutrition quality of the food. So I'm going to increase the volume of the food and decrease the nutrition content of the food, because these cattle, I've actually began to realize that cattle actually need that roughage. They need that lower quality fiber sometimes. So they need that high fiber foods at times. Man, this guy's just licking me today. But okay, that's it for me today, YouTube. I'm actually going to go to the feed store right now. They're about to open in about 15 minutes, so y'all have a good one.